Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey watching 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and I'm going to react as I watch this show and see if anything of interest comes out of my mouth as I watch this.
And if you're getting so defensive on a question that I'm asking, then I'm wondering, why are you getting so defensive?
I love Colt. But no for a green card. I know that I Colt for nothing. You laundry for Colt?
You do my laundry.
Sometimes?
Yes. A mãe dele lava a roupa dele, a mãe dele cozinha pra ele.
You getting this?
Ele tem 34
I'm
anos.
about ready to leave here.
No. I
about ready to
understand
get
Colt
away.
always never. But maybe. Listen.
Don't put your head.
Eesh. So, as a family therapist, I work with families as they have these kinds of conversations sometimes. And I'm there to help them communicate without risking escalation and hurt feelings and aggression and hostility and resentment and stonewalling and criticism and being unfair to each other. So it's hard to watch because they're all coming from good places. For the mom, she's worried about her son. And the mom is saying something that I often say to everyone on the show is, what's the rush? Why would you take a risk at rolling the dice when you could lower the risk by actually dating someone for longer and getting to know whether or not you're actually compatible? Why do you have to rush things so quickly? Now, that's the whole premise of the show, so what are you going to do? But the mom is expressing something that's really quite rational. Now, I don't think she's doing it in a way that is nice, in a way that they're going to hear. I don't think either Colt nor Jess wants to hear that right now. And then for Colt, he's doing exactly what he did with Larissa and Debbie and the cousin, is Colt is just being quiet. He's not saying anything. He's not getting involved. My suspicion is that in the family, there was something that happened along these lines. Maybe the mom and the dad fought a lot and Colt had to be quiet as the two of them fought. I don't know. But Colt seems to have a defense. It's an uncomfortable situation for everyone, right? And the mom's uncomfortable, Jess is uncomfortable, Colt is uncomfortable. And I think the way Colt deals with discomfort is to shut down and try to become invisible. And what that ends up doing is it ends up meaning that people feel like he's not doing enough, he's not getting involved, like he doesn't care. And then when he does intervene, he typically will attack the girlfriend, the Larissa or the Jess, making them feel like they're being discounted instead of validating everyone. Just like, Mom, I get it, what you're saying, but I don't think you understand my relationship with Jess. We have a very special bond. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being concerned. I'm glad you're concerned, but let's talk about this another time. I don't know. And then Jess is coming from a rational place of just like, look, I don't want to be insulted as if I'm some kind of liar and I'm just in it for a green card. I don't like what you're insinuating. And I love Colt and I want to be with him. And so, back off. You don't know what you're talking about. I want to get married really quickly. And, there's lots of different styles to that. And everyone is free to make up their own minds as to how fast they want to get married, for sure. There are ways to mitigate risk, like waiting a little bit longer. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting married right away, as long as you know the risks and you've calculated it all out. And there is some pressure on the two of them because for them to actually spend time together, it does require them getting legally married, I think, unless he goes to Brazil. Anyway, point is that they're all coming from, I think, reasonable places, but they're just being hostile with each other and attacking each other. And as a therapist, it's just hard for me to watch because I'm just like, you're all okay. There's no argument here, really. You can all validate each other and still do what you want to do because all three of you are free to make your own decisions in life. Debbie, if you believe that they're making a bad choice, you can give them advice, but they're adults. So you just have to throw it out there as advice, but they can take it or leave it. So Debbie, you're coming from a rational place. I have the same thought that it would be nice if people took longer to date to make sure that they're compatible. I'm with you on that, but everyone's free to make their own choices. So I get you, I hear you. It's not landing with them. If your goal is to help them, then you need to cut your losses and be quiet about this idea. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but you need to cut your losses and maybe change your tactic, or maybe revisit this another time or something like that. Now, Debbie, if your tactic is to stop them from getting married, then I guess maybe you are doing the right thing, which is creating a lot of stress for the two of them such that they'll end up fighting and breaking up over it. But is that really how you want to play this? Do you really want to control your son in that way, or would you rather have him make his own choices about this? And then, I'd turn to Colt and I would say, your mother and your girlfriend are in a fight right now. What's going on? How are you feeling? Well, I don't know. And we'd probably get to his underlying feelings and say, okay, how about you communicate that a little bit? Let's put that out there. Let's get you involved so that people feel like you're in contact, like you're actually involved and that you care. So I'd hope to get at something where Colt would announce to the two of them, just like, you guys are fighting. That's making me very upset. It's making me very scared. It's kind of hurting my feelings. And Mom, I get what you're saying. And Jess, I get what you're saying. But I want the two of you to love each other. So it's really hard for me to watch you two fighting. So can you please try to get along instead of jumping to conclusions about each other so quickly? Because I don't want that to happen. Just have him be just more involved, more alive. I'm guessing early in life he learned he had to shut down in the face of anxiety like that. But anyway, that's what I hope to get from him. And then to Jess is, how are you feeling right now? What's going on for you? Well, I feel like the mom is getting in the way, and I feel like she's being unfair to me. Okay. And you can communicate that. And there's ways to do it so that we can set up a future that is good for everyone. Meaning that you're not going to get Colt to never be involved with his mom. So let's play this out right now. Your tactic with the mom is, if the mom is aggravating to you, you're just going to be hostile with her and try to shut her out of your life. Well, let's fast forward 3 years. You're married. You have a kid. And Colt is still involved with his mom. Well, then what? What do you have to do? Let's think of the big picture here. You can absolutely assert yourself. You can absolutely stick up for yourself. You can absolutely speak your mind. But let's try to be diplomatic about it. Let's try to come from a place of your own feelings. You can say to the mom, Debbie, what you're saying, it hurts my feelings because I feel like you're accusing me of being some kind of trickster on your son, and I really just don't feel that way. And I get that you would think that because of Larissa, but I'm not Larissa, and I just hope that over time you can learn to trust me. Something along those lines. Or, hey, Debbie, calm down. I don't like this talk from you. Or, I don't know, just something that was functional and diplomatic that recognizes that people are in families. And people on the show often don't recognize this. And I guess a lot of people in real life don't either, is they think, well, I'm marrying Colt. I'm not marrying the mom. Yes, you are marrying the mom. You're marrying into a family. You're not just marrying an individual. When we marry an individual, we marry their system, their job, their friends, their life, their animals, their pets, their lifestyle. You can't just separate someone from that and say, well, I'm just marrying this element of it. You're marrying the whole thing. You're getting involved in the whole thing. Now, you can assert yourself and say, I don't like the way this is playing out, but you can't just ignore it and act like it's just going to go away, because it's not. And I talk with a lot of people about this sort of thing where they're just so frustrated because, I've seen couples and individuals like this in therapy where 10 years down the line, the Jesses and the Debbies still hate each other, and the Colts are still passive and backing out of the triangulation. And it's resentment and anger and discomfort, all because they got started on the wrong foot and they didn't recognize everything is being established right here. The foundation of our relationship is starting right now. And my choices with what I'm saying will set the tone for the rest of my life. And if people really understood that in their bones, I don't think they would act this way. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with Jess asserting herself. There's nothing wrong with her being upset. But there's a way to go about this that recognizes the bigger picture here. Because Colt wants Jess to be in his life, and he wants his mom to be in his life. And there's a way to make that happen. But I just wish they had a family therapist to help them out. Hey, deserving listeners, as you know, I'm constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. One of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp.com. So if you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to BetterHelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the /Kirk because you get 10% off your first month and it helps us out. I get a lot of emails from you saying that you're looking for a therapist. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, but I know it can be really hard to find a good one to work with. Like I said, one of the options available to try is BetterHelp.com/Kirk. And you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide, which is amazing. I've been told that you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message with your counselor anytime. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. And I've been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy. So go to BetterHelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month of therapy today.
That
Why?
I'm done.
Puta que pariu! You.
Hold on. No, enough. Jess.
No.
Jess. Be easy on my mother.
So there we go, is Colt waits for, I don't know what, something sort of to cross a certain threshold. Then he intervenes against his girlfriend and not against the mom, or not more general. Now, watching this, I'm guessing a lot of people are having transference, meaning that your own traumas are being triggered and you're just like, you gotta let someone have it. You know, I wish Colt would let the mom have it, or I wish Jess would do that, or I wish that, you know, there's a lot of wishes that we'll have. But what I would recommend, if they're trying to create a system that involves Colt and Jess and mom and Jess's family and all the other people, Vanessa included in this, and the cats and the future kids, if everyone is going to work together as a village, then they have to do something where everyone is recognized and heard. And so Colt needs to be, I don't know, more diplomatic, I guess is the word for it. It's just more, okay, Jess, I hear you what you're saying. I don't think it's good to call my mom a name. Mom, you're being a little harsh right now. I don't think you're giving Jess a chance, and I don't like it. So kind of evening it out a little bit. I don't know. I don't see this turning out very well because it didn't go well with Larissa. And from the beginning with Jess, they were, in some ways, this is worse because I think with Larissa and Colt, they weren't fighting. And by the way, I say Larissa because that's how she pronounces it. And I'm getting a lot of emails from people from Brazil saying, thank you for pronouncing her name correctly instead of anglicizing or Americanizing the name. But anyway, so Colt and Larissa, at least what we were seeing on the show, they weren't fighting this much right from the start. Or maybe they were. Anyway, the point is that this is not looking good. And I'm worried for all of them. I'm worried that something bad is going to happen. And I mean, maybe someone ends up in jail. I don't know. But then Colt is alone again. Debbie now feels ashamed for having done something to her son's love life. Jess hates the fact that she got involved with Colt. Like, there's just so many bad things that can happen if they're not careful with their emotions and how they communicate to each other.
Jess's behavior is a little out of line. I don't want to say too much, especially in front of her family, but she became aggressive, and it reminded me of the past being around Larissa, and I don't like it. Okay.
Okay. No, I need to talk first now. Cause.
So the mom is saying, I don't like what I'm seeing in Jess, and it's confirming that Jess is not a good idea for Colt, not a good partner for Colt. And what I would do if she were talking with me about this, I'd be like, okay, let's back up and let's look at how everyone participated as a system to create what happened. This conflict, we can agree it happened, right? There was a conflict, there was a fight, there was a verbal, hostile discussion. You can identify, tell me all the ways in which Jess contributed to the fight. All right, let's list that whole thing out. Sometimes I'll even write it all down. Okay, tell me how Colt contributed to that fight. All right, Debbie, how did you contribute to the fight? And for some people, like, well, I didn't. and I'll think, you had to have. There's just no way you couldn't. No one's perfect. What would they say if they were sitting here about how you contributed to it? When we understand that we are part of how things play out, then we have power over how things will be in the future, because we have power over how we participate in things. We don't have power over other people. We have power over how we show up, how we behave. Sometimes it's hard for us to exert control, but it's a really great place to start. Now, I'm not saying that everyone is always to blame for everything. Sometimes you are truly a victim of someone else's aggression and hostility or violence or whatever, mistreatment. But in this situation, I would say there's a fair amount of responsibility that could be spread around.
I'm going back to the hotel, regardless of what you say.
Come on.
A mãe tá autoritária, que é muito mais tipo assim, né? É filho pra mim e pronto. Eu acho que não é por aí. Eu acho que é muito autoritária.
Look, we've had a very long night.
You're right. I'm tired and I
You need to relax.
What?
I'll walk you to the car.
You're going to put me in a cab and send me back to the hotel by myself? You're going to stay here?
It'll be fine.
I'm a little concerned that Cole is taking all this in stride, but it surprises me that he's staying here and letting me go back to the hotel by myself.
All right, it's interesting. Maybe it's apparent to y'all as you watch, but I feel very bad for Debbie, not because of the world she's created around herself, particularly this season. She's to blame for that. But I detect a lot of shame, a lot of self-esteem issues, perhaps trauma, perhaps abuse in her history, I don't know. But whenever I see her on the screen, I unless it's just kind of a regular scene where she's just chatting with someone, I see someone that has been through a lot. I've had a lot of clients like her, and I don't know what she's been through. And I'm guessing most of the people that are on the show have been through a lot, especially the ones that you ask that I react to, because those are the people that tend to have more attachment and trauma reactivity in relationships and make for compelling television. But every time I see Debbie, I'm like, oh, the stories that she could tell, I'm guessing, about the traumas that she's been through. She is responsible for creating a situation in which Colt is now sending her home from the party and saying, yeah, I didn't want Mom to come to Brazil in the first place. She invited herself. She never asked me if I really wanted her to come. She's been a thorn in my side this entire time, and now she's creating this big scene. I really love Jess, and I like talking with Jess about the future, and I'm seriously thinking about getting married to Jess, and my mom is just like completely hell-bent on attacking Jess, and I don't like that. I don't know what to do. My mom, she's not going to change her ways. I'm guessing that's what Colt believes. So I'm sending her home, and so one could say that that's justified, that she's being sent home early from the party. But I also just see it as just another point of suffering for her, and another reason why she would be ashamed of herself, and another reason why she'd be really rigid about holding on to Colt. Because my hypothesis, and I have no way of knowing, is that for a long time now, Colt has been the only person who she feels secure with, who she feels safe with, who she feels that actually likes her for who she is. And without that, if he's going to get married and move out, then she has no one. That's just a guess I have. But I just wish I wish for everyone that we watch in this show that they all had therapists. So they could really take some time to reflect on themselves and say, what's going on for me? What are my big picture goals here in life? What are my patterns? How am I contributing to the issues here? Are my feelings valid? What part of my feelings makes sense to you? I just feel so bad for them, including Debbie. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Let me know what you think in the comments. Also, if you haven't yet become a patron of the podcast, it's always the way that we know you like what we're doing. That's the main way. If you did nothing else and became a patron of the podcast, that's the one thing you can do that really just helps the machine of our podcast move forward. It's a very practical thing for us in that we need help to, because essentially for all the team members of Psychology in Seattle, we have other jobs. And so in order to pull time away from those other jobs, we need some ability to pay our bills. And so when people become a patron of the podcast, it definitely helps us in that direction. So not to be too explicit about the way this podcast works, but that's how it works. And so for all of the people who have already become a patron, that has given us the ability to do everything we've done over the past couple of years. And so anyway, everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.